Hello, I'm Anthony from strongmencoaching.com. And hey, listen, your time is valuable, so let's get right into it. In one of my previous videos that you could check out here, if you haven't seen that, I go over how low self esteem shows up in our life. In working with men for many years now, they'll come and they'll come to me wanting to be a more confident man. They want to be more confident. And what I have found times more times than not, that men are in fact struggling with low self-esteem and not so much confidence, and they need to have that self-esteem in order to have confidence. And I was using chat gpt, and one of the things that really popped out to me was that low self-esteem when somebody has low self-esteem, they find it very difficult to receive feedback or criticism from others. And that reminded me of over the years of working with men and how it's more of a low self-esteem issue and not so more of a confidence issue. So in trying to overcome this, I want to share with you today on how you can begin to see feedback and criticism in a whole completely different way. So you'll notice here that this is the list that I was referring to about how low self esteem shows up in our life. And it indicates that difficulty handling criticism. Men with low self esteem may take feedback as a personal attack. And how often is that the case? Oftentimes, when people are receiving feedback or feel like they're being criticized, they feel like it's an attack. And the reason why it's a clear indication of low self esteem is because we should be open to hearing what other people have to say. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to accept everything that people say, but we should be open to it because this, as I will share here in a moment, it's a great opportunity for us to see things that we just don't see, right? We could be conducting ourselves in a certain way, working a certain way, being a certain way in a relationship, but we just don't know about it. And if we have low self esteem, it's going to impact every area of our life: relationships, career, friendships, every area of our life, finances, every area. So, in dealing with this, I want to share with you on how to really change your mindset as it pertains to dealing with feedback. And here is we're calling criticism. So, one of the ways is to look at criticism as an opportunity for growth. As I mentioned before, oftentimes we are living our life and we are living the way we think is best, right? But oftentimes we'll read books, we'll watch, listen to podcasts, videos such as this one, for example, right? And we want to improve, and we're willing to hear what people are saying. For example, in this situation, but when people come to us and say, "Hey, I want to point something out that you just might not be aware of," immediately we feel attacked, right? And so, as an opportunity for growth, is to view criticism as feedback and not as a personal attack, and not feel like they're attacking you, but just kind of bringing to light something that could benefit you in your life, which is a very good thing, right? Second is pause before reacting. This is a huge one because oftentimes when we feel like we're being attacked, we get up the defenses, right? The defenses levels shoot up, our brains kind of close down, and we're unwilling to hear what the other person says because all of a sudden our blood pressure rises, our pulse rises or increases, and we're in for the attack, so to speak, right? And this is an opportunity to pause, take a couple deep breaths, and be willing to hear what somebody has to say. It doesn't mean we have to agree with them, doesn't mean we have to change in a sense, but it's just that openness, because if what they have to say can truly change your life, why miss out on this opportunity? So, one of the things to do is take a deep breath and be okay with it. Someone who has high self esteem is willing to listen to anybody and everybody because they know they have self worth, and they know that, hey, if this is going to help me, I want to listen. I want to hear what this person has to say. Third is focus on the message, not the delivery. Asking yourself, what can I learn from this, regardless of how it was said? I'll give you an example. I have known I have had twice or experiences. Well, let me back up. I have had two friends that have shared with me of their experience, their horrible experience in working with their doctors. And in both cases, they were both given a temporary diagnosis of cancer. Now, in both cases, they didn't have cancer, but the way the doctor delivered the news, it wasn't good. It was almost like, okay, you have cancer and you're going to die. And it shouldn't have been that way. It should be more like, hey, we might have seen something. We want to get more tests. We're going to look further into it. And that's it. Not bring up the whole cancer word when it hasn't even been confirmed. So we often think that, okay, doctors, they went to school for many years, but they also didn't go to, or they didn't go to school how to communicate for many years. So they're communicating with what they think is best. Now, could they have, should they receive some feedback saying, hey, doctor, next time, perhaps not say it that way and say it this way? Opportunity for growth. You know what? You're right. They were distraught. They didn't feel good. They didn't leave well. And I, as a doctor, should not or would not want them to think that they have cancer when they don't. Right? So, not focusing on the message when somebody is bringing something up. Hey, I see that you've done this, or the way you're talking to this person, the way you're doing this, and not the delivery. Because here's the thing, more likely than not, the person who is delivering the message never received any communication skills or were taught or learned any communication skills on how to present feedback to another person. More than likely that all managers, all supervisors military personnel who are giving feedback never once learned how to properly give feedback so that someone is receptive to hearing what you have to say. I guarantee it, right? So let's continue. Separate self worth from the feedback. I am still valuable and capable even when I make mistakes, right? Separate your self worth, right? Because this is what happens when somebody has self esteem, they have self worth and they don't feel attacked. You can say whatever you want to me. I know that, not in a negative way, you're right. You don't want to say, you could say whatever you want. No, words, are impactful, right? But it's hey, I'll hear what you have to say, but I know that at the end of the day, I'm doing my best, so forth and so on. But remember, this is about taking the opportunity to to listen to what somebody has to say, right? It's about the mistake. It's not the person. It's not you as the person. It's just a mistake. And if it's something personal, like the way you conduct yourself, the way you may say something, it's still not a personal attack, because if you want to better yourself, then and get different results in your life. For example, if you're someone who just can't keep a relationship, or somebody who can't keep a job, or somebody who can't build a business or something, and people or someone brings up the way you speak to somebody or the way you present yourself to somebody, That's an opportunity for growth. And it's not to hurt you, it's to help you so that if you decide, or for you to know, hey, this is something that I see, I know it's not getting the results you want in your life, and it's something to think about, something like that. But separate, they're not attacking your self worth, you as a person. It's just sharing something that to bring to your attention, right? Now, continuing on, learn to ask clarifying questions, right? Respond with curiosity. Be curious, right? Take those deep breaths and be curious. Can you help me understand what you mean by that? Once again, as I mentioned from the very beginning, if somebody were to come to me and say, "Hey, Anthony, I see that you're doing this," or I say, one of the worst things anybody could say to another person, or I shouldn't say the worst thing, no. Well, as far as it is to confront somebody, say, "I heard this about you. I heard this about you." Now, that's ridiculous, right? Because one, they're not bringing their experience. They're saying, "Oh, I heard this." And it's just like, no, you, and then if they say, "I heard this," well, it's, you heard what exactly? Can you explain to me what exactly you heard so that we can be clear on what we're talking about here? And so in this example, right, can you help me to understand what you mean by that? So for example, someone can say, I find you to be very rude to customers or something to that effect, right? Can you help me understand what you mean by that? Well, do you remember when this happened or this happened? Yeah. And then, go from there and kind of have that conversation. But be open to what they have to say and be like, okay, the reason why I did this, okay, I understand it. I understand that. And perhaps next time, XYZ. And be open to hearing that because it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to be like, okay, to ponder and to be, maybe I could have been nicer, or yeah, maybe I could have added an extra option, or maybe I could have just spoken at a lower tone, instead of already feeling like you're being attacked. Hear what they have to say and ask for clarifying questions. Practice gratitude for the feedback. This may be difficult, but if you have high self esteem, you're going to be like, you know what? Thank you for pointing that out. You know, I'll consider it. I'm going to think about it. Thank you for taking the time to bring this up because I definitely don't want to do that. Thank you. Right? This goes for everything: your relationships, your friendships, your job, all things. Important areas of our life. This is something that's important. Thanks, honey. Thanks for bringing this up. I definitely want to improve. I definitely don't want you to feel that way, or I definitely don't want to conduct myself that way, right? Be thankful for it because if this improves your life, right? If this brings up something in your life where you're like, man, maybe I do struggle with low self esteem. I really need to, and I'm seeing this in my life. I see it when people, criticize me. I see it when I'm getting feedback. I really get amped up and it's just like, wait a second, man, I need to build my self esteem, my self worth, because this is not how I want to live. I don't want to be, feeling attacked when people are truly trying to help me. So let's go on next. Shift from avoidance to action, right? Avoiding criticism stuns growth and leaning into it builds resilience, right? If we just went about our life and we never received feedback, because feedback is growth. As I mentioned to you before, in the military, we always got feedback, whether it was after action reviews, right? We went and we conducted a mission. Hey, I could have done that better. Or hey, we could have done this better. Or hey, I made that mistake. Hey, I'm going to learn from it. That builds me up as a leader. That builds me up as a person to where now I'm able to handle more pressure. I'm able to handle different situations, right? And then small steps like seeking feedback intentionally in safe environments, right? Like hey man, I see that or I remember, or just recently, I've been working with somebody who he has his own business, and has about 6, 7 employees. And we were talking because he wants to be a better boss. And so, what I asked him to do, or encouraged him to do, is to go to each individual employee and say, hey, man, you've been working here for X amount of time. I appreciate what you're doing. Hey, what are some things that how are things going? How can I help you? How can I be a better, boss for you? Or how can we be a better company for you? What are some things that you're seeing that we can do better? There you go. And listen to what they have to say. And so that's what I shared with him. And so seek feedback. Go and ask, hey, boss, hey, honey, hey, employees, hey, friendship. Hey, how can I be a better friend? Hey, how can I show up better for you as a father? How can I show up better for you as a friend? How can I show up better for you as a husband? How can I show up better for you, you know, in this area? Accept that, because when you have self-esteem, you're willing to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Seek out feedback. Highlight, journaling, right? Journaling, mindfulness, or therapy to strengthen emotional regulation, right? Oftentimes, um, we just don't have the tolerance level, the mental. This is a interesting concept that we now say, the bandwidth, right? So when it comes to being able to handle more and to process our thoughts, it's good to write things down. It's a good thing to meditate. Therapy may be an option, but it's just a way for you, another way for you to build yourself up, and build that resilience and your self-esteem. Right? Some different options here. Use role models. There are many examples of successful men who have embraced criticism to achieve greatness. There are many, and your willingness to learn from mistakes fuels your growth, right? And and that's important. This is all about you and being the best you can be. And if you struggle with low self-esteem, the only way to build it is to grow it and do these things that will allow you to feel your own worth, or accept your own worth, and accept feedback, because it's going to benefit you in your life. So last one is practice self reflection. Set aside time to reflect on criticism without judgment. Right? Ask questions. Is this feedback valid? Right? Is this feedback valid? What can I do to improve? Sometimes it may be required to remove the person in your mind, as far as like who told you, or who provided the feedback. Because sometimes what we'll do is we'll judge the criticism based off of the person. And there's times where that person just may be right, but you hate who it came from. You dislike where it came from, And I have had, you know, soldiers who were under me, and they share with me maybe perhaps a better way of doing something. And it's like, oh man, all right, you're right. You got it. And so, but was the information good? Did it help? Did it improve? Absolutely. So, what I encourage you to do is separate when it's that time where it's just like, man, this guy's an idiot, or this person's an idiot, or this, and then, but sometimes, you're, I hate to admit this, but this guy's right. Man, why did it have to come from him, type of deal thing. But that's just the case sometimes. So think about, so when it comes to your self-esteem, There are things that come into our life that are clear indications of having low self-esteem. It's not a confidence issue. It's a low self-esteem issue. Oftentimes men come to me asking, "Hey, how can I build confidence to talk to women?" No, when you have self-esteem, you could go and talk to anybody because it doesn't matter how they react to you. You're still happy. You're still excited. You're still going about your life. You're still you know your self-worth. And if somebody else fails to recognize that, that's their issue, right? That's not yours. So what oftentimes is we feel bad when somebody rejects us. It's like that's low self-esteem. Hey, if you talk to somebody and they're like, you know, that's their issue. Hey, keep going, right? Imagine somebody coming up to you who you have zero interest in. You're not going to give them the time of day, and not everybody's may be into you that you wish was, right? You wish they were. So I want to encourage you to rethink this idea about low self or confidence when it's really low self esteem. This combination, this idea that being a more confident man, being a more confident person in this area. Because in order to be confident in anything, you've got to conduct the action over and over again in order to be confident. If you want to be confident, or if you are confident in an area in your life, look at why you are confident in that area. You're confident in that area more than likely because you've been doing it for a while. You've learned some lessons along the way. You've had to go through some ups and downs, but you've overcome and you've gone through things that have led you to be confident. But you had to first be willing to go through that opportunity in order for you to build that confidence. So something to think about, right? I'm Anthony Treyas from strongmencoaching.com, and check out these other videos that I have here to really go into more detail on how you can improve your life. So once again, and as always, stay strong.